and welcome to another episode of the Average Joe Football Show. I'm your host, Joe Fair. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of our special guest's favorite football podcast.
Oh, and it even might be.
And yeah, listen, we have ourselves a special guest. Obviously, I'm joined by my favorite guest. No offense to our special guest. I have to say that because he's in the room with me. My producer, Joe Thiessen. How's it going, Joe?
Super.
Very good. Very
Really
good. Exciting show for you guys today. We'll try to keep the intro fairly short. We have a jam-packed show full of football for those of you that like that. We're going to preview the entire 2021 NFL season, from awards to division winners to playoffs to Super Bowl winners to week one, picking the week one games with our special guest who might be a reoccurring guest on this podcast. But Joe, how you been, man?
Super good.
Yeah?
Yeah, man. My knee is all swollen and it hurts to walk, but it's really bothering me. But I got stung by a bee. I didn't tear my ACL or nothing.
Yeah, you got stung by a bee.
On my knee.
On your knee. The bee's knees.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
This is the bee's knees.
The bee's knees.
And it's swollen. I'm not allergic.
It is
but I feel
really
like I
big.
am.
Like, for those of you, like, this is an audio pod. Like,
I just
wow,
don't
I didn't even look at it that much before. It is really big.
compare it to my other knee.
No, I see that for sure. It's very big. Are you allergic?
I don't know. I don't think so. I've never had a problem with that. I've been stung by bees many times before.
Yeah.
Never like this though.
That is.
This you know what? This one did feel different though. This honestly hit different.
It hit the bees this year hitting a little different.
They are hitting different. Maybe this whole pandemic has really gotten the bees all fired up.
I think so. They're just jonesing for people to sting, and we've been
dude,
gone.
But he left the stinger in me.
Oh.
And he pieced out. Literally, there was a stinger and a gut sac attached to it.
Oh, gross.
Like
I didn't like that word.
gut sac.
Gut sack. Yeah.
It was probably his poison sac, anyways.
Whoa. Huh. And he did poison your knee.
Yeah.
I'm worried that might be infected or something. That looks bad.
Don't say that.
It's probably not, Joe.
I've been icing it a lot too.
Okay.
I don't know what to do. It
No.
hurts. It hurts to walk on it. Like even fully extending it or bending it all
Yeah,
the way,
yeah.
it just hurts. It's like all the way over here.
I'm sure you'll be fine, right? People get stung by
yeah.
bees all the time. There
Oh,
is those
yeah.
killer wasps that were making their way around there for
That
a while.
was not one of those.
Okay.
I found it. The reason it stung me, it would have been fine, but he got underneath my shorts. He couldn't get out.
Oh.
So he stung me. I was like, oh, son of a gun. Went and got a thing of ice.
Hmm.
Went and sat down on my lawn chair. Took quite a bit. And then I sat down and I'm like, ugh. And then I felt a weird buzzing in my pants and I lifted up my shorts. And then the bee flew out. I'm like, you sucker.
So if you guys at
I
home
was mad.
feel a weird buzzing in your pants, make sure you check for bees.
Yeah.
No, but that's too bad that your knee is like that. That's quite big, quite large.
Quick thing.
Yeah.
I was hanging out with our good buddy Joel today. He asked me
Mm.
a question, and it's like thought-provoking. We don't have to get into it per se.
Okay.
I know we want to make this a little bit short, but say it's World War II.
Mm.
Okay, you go to war,
Okay.
and you're there for a while, and the military sends back home to your wife a grievance letter or a letter saying that you had died. Because this actually happened back then, where they would accidentally send a letter to your family saying that you had died, but it was the wrong person,
Oh my god.
the wrong family. They got the wrong person that they thought had died.
The worst thing ever.
So you say your wife gets that letter, right?
Yeah.
Then you had died. Like, oh my goodness. So then you stay, you stay whatever fighting for your country for another year and a half.
Yeah.
And then you go home, to your wife, who's now remarried.
Why are you doing this?
And is
Yeah.
what would you do?
What would I do? I hate. That's the worst thing in the world.
But
Why would you talk about that?
she thinks you're dead.
Yeah. This is a movie, I think. This is a movie. I think it's got, who's in it? It might be Tobey Maguire.
That's brother.
Brother something? Is it called Brother?
I think it's called.
Is that not the premise of that movie?
I don't think so. Oh.
I think they do think he's dead.
I
And
think
then
they do think
she's
he's
with
dead,
his
but she's
brother.
yeah, but oh wow.
So Joel didn't actually even come up with a
No,
good
he
question.
was listening to Hardcore History podcast.
Okay.
But
That's the worst thing ever.
right, legally too. Like you got to get into this now because like you're legally dead,
Yeah.
but you're not.
Yeah.
So what? Are you just not a person anymore?
Yeah. And like, oh man, that reminds me kind of the show Manifest that I watched it for a while and
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
I haven't watched it in forever, but they're gone for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the plane and so I don't want to get too much into this, but the plane goes up. I'm sure everybody's seen it. It's like number 1 on Netflix forever. But the plane goes up and they're just a normal plane ride. I mean, they have some turbulence and a storm, but they land and it's 5 years later. But for them, it doesn't feel like 5 years. So then this guy gets to his family and his wife had moved on with another guy.
Yep.
And same with another girl. Her fiance married her best friend, and it's like, wow, that's the worst thing in the world.
Sucks.
Yeah,
Dude, that sucks.
that sucks.
Honestly, there's nothing that you can say except for that sucks.
Yeah, because like, what can you do?
Nothing.
It's not their fault.
It's the government's fault.
Yeah, it's like they moved on. Like, but you would want them
They
to move
did the
on.
right thing.
Like, if you died, like actually just died, and like for sure, you would, you would probably want your wife to eventually move on, right? Like that's the right thing to.
Yeah.
But so you can't even be mad because they moved on. They had to move on after a while. But
yeah.
But now I'm back now, and that's not
Yeah.
fair to me.
Now what,
either.
honey?
Yeah, sweetie. Remember me?
Like you can't even legally do the whole polygamy thing anyways, unless
Yeah.
you're in Utah.
Oh man, I don't know if I would want to do that. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, like, honey, I guess we got to move to Utah.
I guess we're going to Utah. I guess we're Mormons now,
Yeah.
sweetie. How do you feel about that? I think that in that case, there should be a law that the men have to fight to the death.
Oh yeah.
Because
I think so.
how much it would suck, even if you lose the fight and you die, maybe it would honestly be better to be dead.
Yep.
You know?
At that point, you're already dead anyways.
Yeah, you lost everything.
Yeah.
Your kids probably don't even want you anymore. Sorry, we're already getting sad, so I just
Oh.
figured I'd make it as sad
Yeah.
as
Let's
possible.
just stop now.
Yeah, maybe we should get into the not sad football stuff of this episode. Yeah, we had our fantasy football real quick before
Oh
we get into
wow.
we had our
Yes.
fantasy football draft this weekend.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm feeling pretty confident about it.
Joe had an interesting strategy where he was pretty locked in there for the first few rounds. I think he was getting going. I could tell late into the draft you were totally checked out. You did not want to be in the draft anymore. Is that true or false?
True.
True.
Too many rounds,
Too
man.
many
Do
rounds.
5 and that's it.
Well, you have to have a full team and a bench.
Oh my goodness.
Joe got to the point where you drafted what, 3 defenses?
Yeah.
3 I think 2 in a row as
yeah,
well.
I did.
2 defenses.
And that was
in
the
a
last
row.
pick, so I did get 2 picks in a row.
Yeah, you got two straight defenses, and you had 3 in total. I think you already traded 1 defense, right? Did you not?
Yeah.
I saw it in the transaction
For
wire.
another one.
For another defense. This is incredible.
Money means nothing to me.
Money is nothing. He doesn't care about the $20 that we put on this
No,
league.
you owe me $20 anyways.
I don't.
Probably you do, so
Okay.
at some point. So
Well,
I'm just not going to pay this one.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 defenses. We'll see how that works out with you. We'll probably talk about our fantasy football team more at some point. But week 1 is just around the corner. And also just around the corner, we have some phenomenal week 1 and 2021 previewing with a very special guest / potentially co-host in the future. I don't know. Why don't we just jump right into some football content? Alrighty, for the next segment, we are coming real close to the start of the NFL season. By the time this episode is released, we are just a day out from the first game of the NFL season, and I have today with me a special guest. Could be a reoccurring guest in the future if his contract negotiations go well. I have he's a good friend of mine. In fact, he's my cousin. We're actually family. We've grown up as best friends, basically a brother to me. Unfortunately, despite all that, he is a Patriots fan. He's formerly of our sister program, the Mic'd Up podcast. He's moved on to bigger and better things with the Average Joe Football Show. I'm just playing around. Everybody give a warm welcome to my friend, my cousin, my brother, Michael Fair. How's it going, Mike?
Wow. That intro was fire. Hey everyone, how are y'all doing? Excited to be on the podcast. This is really cool for me, yeah, especially with my brother over there, Joe. It would be cooler if I could be there like in person with y'all recording, but sadly I'm like 24 hours away. But
yeah, and I forgot to mention Mike is he currently resides in the land down under. That's right. He's from Texas. He lives in a different time zone. Lives far away in a much cooler place, in my opinion. But we're excited to have you on the podcast. Why don't you just tell the listeners just a little bit about your background as a football fan? Obviously, I'd already said you're a Patriots fan, but how did you get into watching football? And how did you become a Patriots fan?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Somehow football was always interesting to me ever since I got my first football when I was like, I don't know, probably 7 or 8. And I remember distinctly we were at our cousin's house there in Canada, and one of our uncles had been watching a Patriots game. And it was, of course, the season they went undefeated in 2007. And I just slowly kind of started picking up what the rules and regulations of football were, and the players' names and everything. And yeah, I jumped on the bandwagon back in 2007. Been a Patriots fan, diehard since then. Of course, sadly, they lost to the Giants that year in the Super Bowl and didn't go undefeated, and proceeded to lose to the Giants a few more times, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, no, I've been a football fan for about, what would that put us at, 13, 14 years now. And
there we go.
Sadly, Joe doesn't understand what winning football is, as he is a Dolphins fan. But, eventually the team will come around, as they did last year, due to the head coach, Brian Flores, who was from the Patriots, by the way. But,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
That's a little background into how I became a Patriots fan.
I do love that when you're talking about you being a Patriots fan, you act like that. You bring up the two giant Super Bowls as if you've had nothing but heartache as a Patriots fan, when you guys have won every single Super Bowl basically since I've been alive. I have a Reggie Bush Dolphins jersey in my closet, Mike. You don't know what pain is, okay? You have no idea. It's funny though, we've had completely different lives as NFL fans. You've had a million Super Bowls, more than you could even want. And my team's only really made the playoffs like twice in my entire life. So, and both times they were not even, probably deserving of being in the playoffs. So it's we've had completely different. I think that kind of adds an aspect of, it adds an interesting aspect. We have two very different fandoms going into football.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure. I know you said we didn't, as a Patriots fan, we've never had to struggle, but we did lose Tom Brady for a year. Still almost made the playoffs, I will say. Yeah. And we had I don't know what last year was all. I mean, we went 7-9. That was a bit embarrassing, but I mean the team did the best they could. I guess it was time to let the Bills and the Dolphins do something. The Jets will never win anything in that division, but I mean, it was time for us to let a different team reign in the East. But I mean, now we're coming back. We got Mac Jones. We got Mac Daddy up in there. He's gonna lead us to the playoffs, probably Super Bowl win. You never know.
I'm just saying. You're saying a 7-9 season is devastating. I had to watch a 1-15 Miami Dolphins season where the only win was Greg Camarillo winning in overtime on a 70-yard touchdown pass. Greg Camarillo. I don't think anybody in this world would be able to know who Greg Camarillo is, but I, as a Dolphins fan, have to know who that is. I'm just kidding. But you talked about Mac Jones. You talked about Mac Daddy, as apparently you guys are calling him now. That's going to lead us, this is obviously his first NFL season, the 2021 NFL season. I'm jacked up. I'm really excited for this football season. I don't know about you, Mike, but it's here. It's basically here. The off season is over. COVID is slowly becoming over. We're kind of getting to that point, but we're here at the 2021 season. We're going to have full stadiums for the first time since 2019. I'm jacked. We're going to spend this episode just previewing the 2021 season. We're going to talk divisions, division winners. We're going to talk playoffs, who's going to make the playoffs, who's going to miss the playoffs. We're going to get into a Super Bowl preview, and then we're going to give you guys awards who's going to win the major awards, MVP, comeback player of the year, all that good stuff. And then, obviously, like we're going to do every week from now on, our picks. We're going to go up against each other with picks, seeing where we differ, where we're the same. But I'm really excited, Mike. I don't know about you. I don't know if you're ready to jump into the 2021 preview.
Oh, I'm pumped. Like you said, you couldn't have said it any better. Like this year, I don't know why. Maybe it's because the Patriots sucked so bad last year. I'm so excited for this season. Just football in general, it being back, having to wait 5-6 months with no football. It's rough. It's a bit brutal. And I finally, I got YouTube TV again today to where I could, get the first game going here on Thursday. I'm just pumped. I'm ready for it. Let's bring it on.
Let's go. All right. So why don't we just jump right into previewing the 2021 NFL season. And I want to start off with our division predictions. We're going to start off with the NFC. We're going to go through the NFC, and I want to start off with the NFC East. Who are you projecting as the winner of the NFC East in 2021?
I would say it's kind of surprising, but I feel like Dak Prescott's going to come. He's going to be healthy. Zeke, he looks like a new monster this year. I've been watching Hard Knocks. And the Cowboys, I just feel like they have the strongest overall team in that division. No one ever really dominates that division. Each team's usually pretty, what's the word? They're all about similar in talent, I could say, or you could say. Like none of them really take the lead early. It's usually a fight to the end in that division. But I'm going to say the Cowboys are going to pull it out, and If anyone's coming for them, it's the football team. Washington, I feel like they're gonna bring the heat with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's always in the mix no matter where he is. So I feel like Washington's coming for him. So it'll be between them, but I think Cowboys will end up edging it out. What about you? Who do you think's winning that one?
Yeah, I got the Cowboys as well. I'm notoriously always very high on the Cowboys. I picked them to be in the Super Bowl last year. I've always said I think the Cowboys are my second favorite team, which just shows how much I love torment when it comes to NFL football. But I got the Cowboys winning. When you talked about the best overall team, I think if we're talking best overall team, Washington might be the best overall team in the NFC East. I think overall talent-wise, especially defensively and even offensively with Curtis Samuel coming over there to join Terry McLaurin, and they got Antonio Gibson. They have a really good team, but to me, the biggest thing that they're missing is the quarterback position. And I feel like Ryan Fitzpatrick at this point is almost overrated. I mean, I know he did some good things in Miami, and he's done some good things in the past, but every single time that he's been relied upon to be the number one quarterback, to be that number one guy, he does not produce. So why are we saying 40 years into his NFL career that it's going to change all of a sudden just because he's on a good team? So to me, I love Washington. I think they're a really good team. But the Cowboys with Dak Prescott coming back, Ezekiel Elliott potentially having a comeback season, I think to me that's enough. And I hope it is finally enough. I hope the Cowboys are not just talk this season like they're every season. I'm tired of the talk. I want to see the Cowboys go out and actually just win the division, be a playoff contender. But yeah, I have the Cowboys winning. So why don't we move on to the NFC North as we can quickly get through these divisions. I'll start off this one. I have the Green Bay Packers. I don't know. I would be surprised if you had anybody else, but I have the Green Bay Packers winning this division. What do you have?
I mean, you're gonna be blown away by this one. I mean, I'm gonna rock your socks here. I got Aaron Rodgers and the Packers winning this division.
Okay.
It's I mean, yeah. If anyone's getting close, we're talking the Vikings. They got a pretty decent team over there. Kirk Cousins really needs to step it up. He hasn't shown them much, but I think with Justin Jefferson having a breakout season, and then they have Adam Thielen and of course Dalvin Cook, you can't forget about him. I think the Vikings can give them a run for their money, but Packers getting Randall Cobb back, it'll just fit Aaron Rodgers' eye. He was throwing a bit of a fit in the offseason, but now he's getting the band back together. So I think the Packers are just going to run the division like they do almost every year. I'm not too high on Justin Fields and the Bears yet. And, of course, Motor City Dan, I don't think the Lions are going to do a whole lot either. So I'm going to take the Packers
kneecap biting
as well.
for you? You don't believe in the kneecap biting or what?
I mean, I've had a lot of problems with my kneecap, so I tend to stay away from that kind of stuff, if you know what I mean.
Mike doesn't want Dan Campbell anywhere near his knees, and
No,
that's fair. Yeah, I had the Packers. The Vikings, I felt like before this season, I was kind of doing my division previews. I was writing articles, and for those of you that maybe have been wondering why I stopped, got really busy. just couldn't quite keep up with it. So I kind of had to take a break from that and focus more on the podcast. But the Vikings, I was really high on them up until very recently. I want to tread lightly because I don't want to get into the whole COVID, the vaccination, unvaccinated. I don't want to get into that. I don't care about that as far as who's vaccinated, who's not. However, with the whole Kirk Cousins thing, him not being vaccinated, and no matter your stance on the vaccination, having a quarterback, that your starting quarterback, not be vaccinated is going to make a difference this season. 100%.
Oh, it will.
Just because of the regulations that the NFL's put in place, it doesn't matter what your stance is on vaccinations. There's a great disadvantage to not being vaccinated. Like if you test positive, you're out an automatic 10 days, I believe, if you're not vaccinated. So to me, just that and the whole mess, like Mike Zimmer seems to be just so angry all the time. He seems to be pissed at everybody within that organization. I don't like the vibes within the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to use that word the young kids use now. I don't like the vibes. The vibes are off with Minnesota. But yeah, Green Bay, will this be the last dance for Aaron Rodgers? I think that'll be an interesting thing to see. Will they?
That's a good point.
Yeah, will they win a championship like we saw with the Bulls in their last dance? To me, I think it would just be hilarious if they win the Super Bowl this season, and now we have to deal with, is Aaron Rodgers coming back now after winning a Super Bowl? I could totally see that happening in Green Bay.
I could see a repeat of that happening for sure. But I have an interesting point we can talk about in the future when we get to the AFC about the whole quarterback COVID vaccination thing. So once we get to the AFC, I'm going to bring that point back up.
All right. I love that. That's a little bit of a tease. You're already an expert at this, Mike. You can tell.
Oh, very much.
He's been on a very historic program like the Mic'd Up podcast. But why don't we jump over to the NFC South? Mike, who do you have as the NFC South winner in 2021?
Well, with Drew Brees leaving this offseason, it really took the Saints out of the mix, in my opinion. I mean, Jameis Winston has the ability to throw for a lot of yards, throw a lot of touchdowns. We haven't seen a little amount of interceptions yet. We need to see that first. But the Saints can do something if they really try. But I think the Bucs are taking the division. Their defense when you can shut down Patrick Mahomes' offense in a Super Bowl, and you retain most of those players, I think you're going to have a good chance of repeating. So I'm going with the Bucs. And honestly, I think I'm going to have to take the Falcons running them up. I think Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, I think they're going to get it going on offense this year. And I think the Falcons I'm not saying they're winning 12 games, but I think they're going to come in second place. I think they're going to run up the Bucs and give them a bit of a run for their money. But what do you got?
I like that you brought that up because to me, it's obvious. The Buccaneers are winning this division. I would bet probably my mortgage on the Tampa. I'm not going to, but if I had to, I would feel pretty confident about it. I would bet, I'm very, very confident the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win this division and be a playoff contender, be one of the top seeds in the NFC. Like you talked about, their defense shutting down Patrick Mahomes. Their offense, I thought, was really, really coming into their own last year. And I thought and I don't think people really, I think people are underplaying just how good Tom Brady was last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Like, people kind of are like, oh yeah, he was fine. He was fine. He was like the best deep ball passer in the NFL when people thought his arm was shot like 3 years ago. Like, that made literally zero sense for him to be that good last year. So to me, it's very obvious the Buccaneers are the best team in the division, but I like that you brought up the second place team because to me, looking at these three other teams, I don't know who's going to be that second place team.
It's a tough one. It's tough.
Yeah, like all three of them, I would not be shocked if all three of them. Now, the Panthers, I don't know. I don't know what to make of them. Maybe I would be a little bit surprised if they were the second place team, but the Saints and the Falcons, the Saints, I think, they're another team like the Vikings, just with bad vibes. I mean, with Michael Thomas now out for half the year after not getting surgery, just a bad vibe situation there. But yeah, I have the Tampa Bay Buckers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking that division. And then, who knows what happens after that. I don't trust Sam Darnold, certainly, at quarterback. No. I do like the direction that the Panthers are going in, but I don't think they're ready. They're a very young team. And I've made my views very clear on how I feel about Jameis Winston. Not a big fan of somebody who's going to throw 30 interceptions.
Exactly.
But the Falcons, I feel like, could be fairly improve this upcoming season. But why don't we move on to the final division in the NFC West, and it's the final division in the NFC, and it's the NFC West. Who do you have taking the NFC West this year?
I got I wouldn't say it's a surprise, but this division is definitely, I think, the best division in the NFC, and I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay.
I think Russell Wilson, he gets better with age, kind of like Tom Brady. I am very upset that man does not have an MVP award, because every year he is the only reason they get to the playoffs, in my opinion. The man does everything. He's basically catching footballs from his own throws. And they got DK. I think DK needs to work a little bit more on his hands. I think he needs to catch a few more passes, but DK is a strong receiver, so I think Seattle's going to win. And obviously the Rams are going to be a close second place, if not take over the division, but I have the Seahawks winning.
Perfect.
What about you?
I'm curious, and I'm just going to say this to start off. This is the first division that we disagree on, which is good for podcast content. But we disagree on this one. I'm curious, though, how you have how you have the whole division shaking out, because you talked about this being the best division in football. I agree 100%. To me, this is the most competitive division in football. But where do you think the overall rankings, before I give you my winner, where do you think they're going to finish 1 to 4?
So I got Seattle winning. Rams are going to be second, and it's going to be close. If the Rams clip the Seahawks, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And then I have the Cardinals going third. I think Kyler Murray with DeAndre Hopkins. Now, J.J. Watt coming on the defensive end is going to help them a lot. Mm-hmm. And then I have the Niners coming fourth, because Jimmy Garoppolo has struggled to be their leader. And I know they got a rookie in there as well. So I think it's going to be a fun battle between the two of them. And I wouldn't doubt if Jimmy Garoppolo loses his starting job this year, but I just don't think they're going to win more than 8 games, the Niners. So I have them in last place. Okay. But it's still competitive. It's a very competitive division.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that the last place team in this division probably has 7-8 wins, which really speaks to how good this division really is. So for me, I have the Los Angeles Rams as my division winner. I think the Los Angeles Rams, I'm totally bought in on the Matthew Stafford experiment. I'm bought in on Sean McVay getting the best out of Matthew Stafford. I loved Matthew Stafford in Detroit, and he's finally on a Super Bowl contending team. I think the Rams, and I could be wrong, but I think they're ready to be one of the Super Bowl contenders in the NFL. So I would probably have the Rams. I do have the Rams as my division winner, and then I would honestly put the Niners second place, and that's where we disagree heavily.
Wow.
My reasoning being, they were one of the most injured teams last year. Football Outsiders has a stat that's most games missed to injury or something like that, total games missed, and I think they were second or third behind just the Eagles and somebody else. Eagles and the Patriots, I think it was, with games missed last year. So to me, they were totally injured. And what did they do with Jimmy Garoppolo the year before when they weren't injured? They were in the Super Bowl. Against the Kansas City Chiefs. They were in the Super Bowl.
I'm going to stop you right here. Okay. What did Jimmy Garoppolo do in that Super Bowl? I would say almost nothing. He is a game manager at best, but I'll let you carry on.
That's fair. He did overthrow Emmanuel Sanders, and they didn't even let him throw in the conference championship game, and that's fair. I've always been a little higher on Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is a top 5 quarterback. I'm never going to say that. I think he's good enough. He's like an Alex Smith level player. Like he'll get the job done. But I would not be surprised if the San Francisco 49ers are right there competing for a potential Super Bowl. And I agree with you that Trey Lance will at some point be the starter. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo will make the whole season, but even if he does, I think this team is really, really good. But I would have them second, and then Seattle third, and then I would have the Cardinals last. I don't know what's going on with Cliff Kingsbury. He's not shown me anything. I don't know what he is as a coach. He hasn't really elevated them at all. Like Kyler Murray, I think has the potential to be like an MVP caliber player, and I just haven't seen it in that offense yet. I think the ability that Kyler Murray has should make them so much better, but it just hasn't so far.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And another thing to bring up is Los Angeles and Seattle have the 10th and 11th hardest ranked schedule this year, whereas the 49ers are down I believe in the 19th position.
Oh, wow.
So the Niners do have an easier schedule if they can remain healthy. I like what you said. I think that injuries did plague them quite a bit last year, and I think if they are able to remain healthy, they could definitely come and sweep the division. But it's a very competitive division, so I think it's up for anybody's grabs. But I'm taking Seattle. I like that you're taking the Rams. I think it's gonna be fun to watch.
I think it will be a very, very fun season, especially in the AFC East. And obviously, as a Dolphins fan, I'm really hoping the 49ers do terrible because we have their first-round pick. But speaking of the Miami Dolphins, why don't we move on to the AFC side of things and start off with our division, our teams, the AFC East. I'll start things off. I have the Buffalo Bills winning the AFC East. I think as much as I would love to see my Miami Dolphins win the AFC East, I try to put my homerism away. I try not to be a homer. I think the Bills just have one of the best rosters in the NFL. They're kind of like the Chiefs rather, in the sense that and the Buccaneers in the sense that they're kind of bringing back a really good roster. They didn't really do a whole lot in the offseason, but they already had a really good roster. And I think roster-wise, they're so much better than even the Dolphins and the Patriots. I don't think it's really all that close if everybody performs to the level that they did last year. But yeah, I have the Bills winning that division. I'm wondering what you have as a Patriots fan. Who do you have winning the AFC East?
You hit it perfectly with the how would you say, the homerism, like you said. Like every part of me, after seeing Cam Newton get released, Mac Jones come in, wanted to say Patriots are winning this division. And in my heart, I'm gonna say they're gonna win the division. But of course, I have to be real with myself. I have the Buffalo Bills winning the division. If Josh Allen can stay as consistent as he's been on the rise, I don't think the Bills can be stopped in that division. But if all of a sudden the Bills start to slip up a little, I have the Patriots coming in second place. Okay. I have them coming up right behind them, going to be pushing their heels. I think the Pats can do something with Mac Jones.
That's interesting. I would have the Dolphins in second place, and I think that's homerisms coming in again. You obviously want the Patriots to win. I obviously want the Dolphins to win. I do think the Patriots will be much improved, and Mac Jones really impressed me in the preseason. He played really, really well in the preseason. I was not expecting him to look as comfortable as he did, but I just think the Dolphins and the Patriots to me are very, very similar teams this upcoming season. I think I think you'll be hard pressed to find two teams that I think are as similar as these two. I think they could both make the playoffs, or they could both narrowly miss the playoffs. And I think they both have strengths, really big strengths at some points, and really big weaknesses. Like the Dolphins have no offensive line, terrible offensive line. Patriots have one of the best offensive lines in football. Dolphins have the best secondary probably in the NFL. The Patriots, without Stephon Gilmore, maybe a weak spot there. Yeah, it's not phenomenal. But I have the Dolphins finishing second. Patriots, but like a very close third, very, very close third. Like within a game, they might even have the same record when it comes down to it. But a very close third. And then the Jets, I think the Jets, they're moving in the right direction. But you said earlier in the pod that they're never going to win anything. I won't go that far, but they're moving in the right direction. Just not yet.
When your organization is known for the infamous butt fumble, I don't think you can go very far, you know? And I'm going to bring up my teaser point now. Okay. You were talking about quarterbacks not being vaccinated, and with the whole penalty they face if they get COVID. I think that is, wherever you stand on it, like you said, it doesn't matter. But as a quarterback, you're needed on your team. And I think that's why Cam Newton lost his job. He was gone for 5 days from the facility, and Mac Jones showed the Patriots everything that they needed to see. And that's why Cam Newton left. I was a big Cam Newton. I loved Cam Newton, to be honest. I was rooting for him this year. I was ready for a bounce back year. When I saw him got released, I was a little sad, but I understood what the Patriots were doing, because when you see your rookie step in, dominate, take over the first string snaps, and just play as well as he did, like Cam Newton has potential to start somewhere. So I think they were letting him go, saying look, you can be a starter somewhere. You're not going to be a bench player. So I think he lost his job due to that reason as well. And that's why I wanted to bring that up.
I like that you brought that up. I was actually going to ask you about that as a Patriots fan, what your reaction was to the Cam Newton release. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to say that all along, and I totally forgot about it. It kind of left my brain. Like, what was your reaction when you saw that notification that the Patriots were cutting Cam Newton? Because I was shocked. I was not expecting that to happen.
So when it happened, I was in my office, and one of my coworkers just yelled my name. And I was like, what's up? And he told me, Cam Newton just got released. And then I looked at my phone, and sure enough, there it was. The notification was right there. And I was like, I was honestly heartbroken because I'd been rooting for him. You can ask all my friends. I've been rooting for him for like the last 2 months. I was like, he's going to come back. He's apparently looking better. And I just don't get the hate around Cam Newton because of what he wears, because of like the way he types on, Instagram. Like, hey, you do you, boo, And I was really excited, and then when I saw he got released, I was quite hurt. But as like the days that followed, seeing like all the hype around Mac Jones and how great of a leader he was, and I also saw that he had apparently been teaching Cam Newton the playbook.
Oh yeah,
I was like, wow, like this kid knows what he's doing. And so I was like, you know what, I have confidence in Mac. It was probably the best decision, as Bill Belichick always does. And so, now I'm all on the Mac, like I said, the Mac Daddy train. I'm ready to see what he can do. And I hope Cam gets the opportunity to start somewhere, but we'll just have to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat where I've always been a Cam Newton fan as well. I remember last year when the Patriots signed him on the podcast, I was livid because I was like, how did all the rest of the teams in the NFL let this happen? How did you let the Patriots get Cam Newton? I thought he was going to destroy the league. And then when he had that huge game in Seattle in week 2, I was like, it's over. Why did we let the Patriots get this guy? And obviously, with him getting COVID and everything last year, it didn't turn out obviously that great. But I agree with you in the sense that I think that Cam Newton could potentially start in certain places. And I think, to me, this was a mutual parting. This was not Bill Belichick firing Cam Newton. I think if Cam Newton wanted to be the backup in New England, I think he would be the backup right now in New England. I have a feeling Bill Belichick came up to him and said, hey, Mac Jones won the job. You can either be the backup or we can part ways. And they decided to part ways. That's how I feel like things went down. And that's just my opinion. But I've heard other people kind of voice that opinion as well. That's how I think it happened. But anyways, we got to move on off of the AFC East. We got to move on off of the Cam Newton story because he's not in the AFC East anymore. But I have the Buffalo Bills.
Exactly.
You have the Buffalo Bills. I'm right with the Dolphins finishing second. You're wrong with the Patriots finishing second. That's fine. We'll move on to the next division.
We'll see.
We'll move on to the next division, and it's the AFC North. I'll let you start this one off. Who you got winning the AFC North?
Well, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
And a lot of people might be surprised, but with what they showed in the playoffs last year without Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry really stepped up. I know you're a big Juice fan.
Yes, sir.
I think the Browns are winning the division. You got Odell coming back. That's going to be great. Their defense is already it's a pretty good defense. Their offense didn't change much. They got the two-headed running game in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And, with the Ravens losing J.K. Dobbins for the year with an ACL injury, I had the Ravens winning the division. And once I saw J.K. Dobbins go out, I was like, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson. So I feel like the Browns are winning. The Ravens are going to be right there on their heels. And I have the Steelers third because Ben Roethlisberger's aging. Juju Smith is not a number one receiver. I know they have Chase Claypool. They have a well-rounded team. But as we saw last year, they just collapsed in the near the end of the season. I don't see them taking off any better than where they ended last season. So that's how I have them ranked. And, of course, I have the Bengals finishing last due to Joe Burrow. I feel like he's going to not have the confidence to throw the ball due to the knee injury. It was a pretty disgusting injury. So I think it's going to take him a bit of time. I'm not doubting his ability. I just think it's going to take some time before the Bengals will actually start succeeding due to his lack of confidence. But what do you got?
I'm honestly right there with you. It's kind of weird how much we're agreeing. I think we've had one that we've disagreed on, but I got the Cleveland Browns winning the division as well. I'm all in on Kevin Stefanski, Baker Mayfield. I was a Baker Mayfield fan going into last season, even after he had his terrible season. I said he was going to become a superstar. I don't think he really became a superstar per se last year, but I really liked the way he came into his own in that offense at the end of the year. And the way they finished the season, it's another thing. I don't think people remember how good they were in the playoffs. They destroyed the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that had been big brother to them for decades. They destroyed them, manhandled them, and then they gave the Chiefs a real run for their money. They were so close to beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, it was not a blowout. They were right there with them. But yeah, I really like the Browns. I like Baker. You talked about Odell coming back. I have him on one of my fantasy teams, so I'm hoping that he has a good season. Jarvis Landry's awesome. Nick Chubb's awesome. Kareem Hunt's awesome. They have a great offensive line. They brought in John Johnson, the safety from the Rams, on that defense. They got Myles Garrett, potential defensive player of the year. We'll get into that later.
Yes.
He's alongside Jadeveon Clowney. Maybe he has a bounce-back year. I think the Browns have the best roster potentially in this division. But then there's the Ravens. I think the Ravens will be really good like they are every year. You talked about the J.K. Dobbins injury. I think that's big, but I talked about this last week. The best running back on their team is still healthy, and it's Lamar Jackson. He's the best running back, and he's also the best quarterback, probably in this division. So I think the Ravens will be right there. I think it'll be these two teams, and I'm feeling a little uneasy about the Steelers. I was not high on them for a while. I like the way that they looked in the preseason. They got a new offensive coordinator there. Big Ben, though, like you talked about, is getting old. I didn't like the way they looked last year, getting shellacked by the Cleveland Browns. You like that word, shellacked.
I like that word.
Very good. And then obviously the Bengals. I think Zach Taylor is going to get fired after this year. Sorry, Zach Taylor. He's another guy like Cliff Kingsbury. I haven't seen anything out of him. Who even is Zach Taylor? Like, most people probably couldn't pick him out of a lineup. He's just. I think he'll be out of a job this year. But I have the Cleveland Browns winning the AFC North. So why don't we move on to the AFC South? We move on from one of the best divisions in football to probably one of the worst in the AFC South. What do you got in the South?
I really struggled with this one. I struggled a lot with this one. Like you said, it is one of the worst divisions. It's so hard. I have the Tennessee Titans winning only because what has happened to the Colts and Carson Wentz and the injury, and I feel like they're already, like, a lot of their team is already struggling with injuries, and I just feel like if the Colts can stay healthy, I feel like they will be the lead runners for the division. But I'm going to bet on Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and the Tennessee Titans, and Mike Vrabel. I believe he's a pretty well-rounded coach, and I think the Titans are going to win the division. I have the Jaguars coming third in a pretty close race. I think Trevor Lawrence is actually going to take off this year. He's going to show the people why the Jags went out and got him and Urban Meyer. And, even though they released Tim Tebow and it broke my heart after seeing his highlights, I understand why. But I have the Jags third, and the Texans, I almost didn't even want to put them on the list due to all the drama surrounding the Houston Texans. And I have them only winning one game this year, to be honest.
Wow. Okay, I like that. Yeah, the Texans almost don't even deserve to have fourth place in this division. I have the Tennessee Titans as well, which is hilarious. I think we're going to end up only disagreeing on one division. I just basically brought somebody on the podcast, listeners, to have just agree with my takes. So that's really nice. Thanks for coming on and agreeing with all my takes.
Yeah, no problem. It's a different voice, but same opinion. So it spices things up.
I didn't want somebody to actually disagree with me. I just wanted my opinion in a different voice. So I appreciate that. I'm obviously just kidding.
Hey, I got you. Got you.
We will disagree at some point, but I have the Tennessee Titans.
Very much.
I have the Tennessee Titans winning the AFC South. I just think people have almost forgotten how they have Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, and Ryan Tannehill's a really good quarterback now. Like, people kind of just forgot about that. Like, I know when people talk about Ryan Tannehill, they think, "Ew, Ryan Tannehill." But listen, this guy's been like a top 5 quarterback the last 2 seasons. Like, Pro Football Focus had him, I think, ranked as a 3rd best quarterback last year. And I think the year before that, he was top 5 as well. And I always loved him in Miami. I thought he was a good quarterback, just with dealt a really bad hand. He's really good. He's one of the best deep ball passers in the NFL. Julio Jones, don't sleep on him. Everybody's kind of just accepting A.J. Brown being the number 1 receiver. Julio Jones is still really freaking good at what he does. So I like the Titans winning that division. Colts are another team, bad vibes. Carson Wentz has COVID, or he has on the COVID list again. I don't like that. And he was injured, and just not feeling the vibes there with the Colts. The Jags, I think, will be interesting. They'll definitely be interesting. They won't be boring, but we'll see what happens there. And the Texans, yeah, we don't even need to talk about the Houston Texans. Why don't we move on to the final division? And something tells me that we're going to agree on this division as well. I have the Kansas City Chiefs, winning the AFC West. Who do you have winning the AFC West?
Joe, here's number 2. This is where we disagree, and you're going to be mind blown by this. And
are you serious?
Yes, this is kind of a hot take, and I might get, the crowd might just jump all over me for this one. But I have to be one of the biggest Justin Herbert fans out there after seeing him dominate last year. It's going to be close. If you knew the type of fans we have around Texas with Patrick Mahomes and everything, it gets a little old. But the Kansas City Chiefs are, of course, they're going to dominate this year. But I just have the Chargers winning the division. I feel like they are going to have a comeback year. I think they're gonna outperform. They do have quite a bit of an easier schedule, I read. So I think that's going to help. And like I said, with Justin Herbert, I think he has a chance to be an MVP this year. He showed us last year that he can dominate this league, and he didn't even, he really didn't have much prep. He got thrown into the game like 5 minutes before kickoff. So the man's a beast. I got the Chiefs in second. I got the Broncos coming in third with Teddy Bridgewater stepping in. I think they're going to be an all right team, nothing too special. And then of course I got the Raiders coming in last. I just don't see much happening with the Raiders. Derek Carr hasn't proven to me that he can lead a team to the playoffs or anything. And John Gruden really hasn't showed much either. So we'll just have to see how that division plays out. But yeah, it's a bit of a hot take. So we'll see how it plays out.
I like it. A little spicy. I disagree. I do think Justin Herbert obviously was amazing last year. I'm curious if there's going to be any bit of regression. Him and Josh Allen, I think, were so good last year. I'm wondering if there's any bit of just going back to the mean, like regressing to the mean with them. But I got to pick the Chiefs. The one weakness for the Kansas City Chiefs going into this offseason was the offensive line. What did they do? They went and made it a strength. They brought in Orlando Brown. They brought in Joe Thuney from your Patriots.
Yep.
And now it's just
Joe Thuney's a beast.
Yeah. Now it's just like a really good offensive line. So it's like, to me, they're gonna dominate again. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback ever. I just wanted to see how you would react to me saying that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback ever. I'm just kidding. Obviously, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever, but Patrick Mahomes might be there one day. Justin Herbert and the Chargers, I think, will probably be a second, maybe not a close second, because I think the Chiefs are going to be awesome. And then I would probably have the Broncos in third as well. I think they'll be sneaky good. Like, they could maybe even sneak into the playoffs because their roster is really good. But the Raiders, I'm not high on the Raiders at all. I think the Raiders are going to be bad this year. Another team, I'm just not feeling the vibes on that team. They are just, they lost. The strength of their team was their offensive line. They basically lost their entire offensive line, and it was by design. And Mike Mayock has drafted nothing but busts ever since he's been there as a GM. Not high on the Raiders, but I have the Chiefs winning that division. So why don't we just transition from the division winners into our playoff bracket? Obviously, we have our 4 division winners as playoff teams. So in the AFC, I have the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills as the 2nd seed, the Cleveland Browns as the 3rd seed, Titans as the 4th seed. Those are my division winners. And you had who do you have as your number 1 seed?
Number 1 seed, I would have to go with the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
Number 2 seed, it's tough because I did choose the Chargers. I did choose the Chargers to win the division. So I'm gonna go Bills, Browns, Chargers, Titans. Those are my 1 through 4.
Those are the division
Bills,
winners?
Browns, Chargers,
Okay,
Chargers. No, Bills, Chargers, Browns, Titans. Sorry.
Okay, wow, so you have the Chargers at the number 2 seed. I like it. I like that you're high on the Chargers. Okay. So then we'll just quickly do the NFC, our division winners as well. I have the Buccaneers as the 1 seed. I think they're going to be unreal this season. I have the Packers as my 2 seed, and then I have the Rams as my 3 seed, and then the Cowboys as my 4th seed. I don't know how do you have them ranked, your division winners?
I have I also have the Bucs going number 1. With their team, like we talked about, it's a given. I have the Packers number 2, and then I would have to go Seahawks 3, Cowboys 4.
Seahawks 3 and Cowboys 4. Okay, so we both have the Cowboys at 4.
Yes.
So why don't we our 5th seeds in each conference? Who's the first wild card team that you have in both conferences?
So in the AFC, of course, I'm going to have to take the Chiefs since I didn't have them winning the
Okay,
division.
there you
The
go.
Chiefs will be the number 1 wild card team. I know it's a bit of a reach here, but the NFL's crazy. Anything can happen. The
That's
Chiefs will be
true.
a wild card team this year.
Okay. I have
And then, sorry.
no, go ahead.
And then in the NFC, I have the Rams. I have the Rams.
Okay, the Rams. I have as my first wild card. I have the Ravens making. I just think they're good every year. The Ravens will make the playoffs, and then I have the San Francisco 49ers as my first wild card team. I'm high on the Niners. Like I said, they won the NFC Championship. They were in the Super Bowl when they were healthy last, so I'm expecting them to be right there in playoff contention and make the playoffs, obviously, with that prediction. And then with my number 6 in each conference, I have the Dolphins. My Dolphins as the number 6 seed in the AFC. And then the NFC, I have the Seattle Seahawks as my number 6 seed.
I like that. For me in the AFC, the number 6 seed is going to have to be my Patriots.
Okay.
Of course, I'm taking the homer team there. Pats are making the playoffs. They're making a comeback. They're going to show everyone that Mac Jones he's legit.
He is Mac
And then in
Daddy.
the NFC, yeah, he's Mac Daddy, And in the NFC, it's a tough one. We have basically on my lineup, I have the football team, I got the Vikings, and I got the Falcons. And I'm going to have to take the Minnesota Vikings. Out of those 3 teams, if Ryan Fitzpatrick can step up, if the Washington football team can step up, I think that they can win or take over the 6th seed. But I'm going to go with the more safer pick. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings as long as Kirk Cousins doesn't get COVID like we talked about.
Okay. I originally had the Vikings in the playoffs as well, but just with the vibes lately, I've said that word so many times on this podcast. I got to stop doing that.
Good vibes.
I got to stop doing that. But I had the Vikings in my playoffs, but I recently booted them. So with my 7th NFC seed, I have the Washington football team actually making the 7th seed. A bit of a stretch maybe to say that the NFC East is going to have 2 playoff teams. I know that's a little crazy, and I'm not crazy high on the Washington football team. I talked about not believing in Ryan Fitzpatrick as a full-time starter, but it's tough to find a 7th seed in the NFC. The NFC is pretty shallow when it comes to talent. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to that if they do make it, they're just barely sneaking in. So Washington is my 7th seed. Who's your 7th seed in the NFC?
It's really tough to say, but I'm going to have to go with the Washington football team as well. Like you said, you put it perfectly. Having 2 teams from that division make the playoffs having one team make the playoffs is hard for them to do,
Exactly.
But having 2 is extraordinarily difficult. But I think the Washington football team, they have a lot going for them. Like you said, they have a great offense. Their defense is, behind Chase Young, they have a great defense. So I think they're going to be the number 7 seed.
Okay. And then who do you have as your final seed in the AFC? I'm curious who you have as that final team.
So it's really tough. It's between 2. It's between the Ravens and the Colts. But like I've said, and like we've talked about with the Colts, you said it best. The vibe just isn't there. I'm going to have to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I think that even though they're going to struggle this year, I feel like they're going to be a good number 7 team, so I'm going to take the Ravens on that
Wow,
one.
he didn't even mention the Dolphins. That's the disrespect that's coming out of his mouth. I have the New England.
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry.
You traitor. I have the New England Patriots as the 7th seed. So I have the AFC East sending 3 teams to the playoffs, which would be such a change for the AFC East that was completely dominated by the Patriots for years. But I kind of looked over the other teams. I was like, who else do I want to put in? The Patriots, I think, are better than the Broncos. I don't want to put them in. I did originally have the Chargers in, but I would take the Patriots over the Chargers at this point just because the first-year head coach there in Los Angeles, just don't totally trust that. So I have the Patriots as my number 7 seed.
It's funny how similar our division rankings were, but yet how different our 1 through 7 playoff prediction
Right.
seeds are.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty nuts how that worked out.
They are quite different. So I just to recap, I have in the AFC Kansas City 1 seed, the Buffalo Bills 2 seed, Browns 3 seed, Titans 4th seed, Ravens 5th seed, Dolphins 6th seed, and Patriots 7th seed. And who do you have in the AFC to recap?
I have 1 through 7. It will be the Bills. 2 would be the Chargers. 3 would be the Browns. 4 would be the Tennessee Titans. 5 the Chiefs. 6 the Patriots. And 7 the Baltimore Ravens.
Perfect. And then in the NFC, I have from 1 to 7 the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Rams, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Washington football team. And who do you have to recap?
I have the Bucks 1, Packers 2, Seahawks 3, Cowboys 4, Rams 5, Vikings 6, and the Washington football team will close it out with number 7.
Perfect. And just to recap, just to bring it all together with our postseason preview, why don't we just have our way too early Super Bowl prediction? Who do you have in the Super Bowl, and who do you have winning the Super Bowl in 2021? Super Bowl 56, is it now? 56 in Los Angeles? I believe it's 56.
I want to say that's correct. I want to say it's correct.
it's
Well,
50.
I don't need to brag too much, but I did predict. We do this every year. Me and my buddies will predict before the season starts, and I picked the Bucks and Chiefs last year. Sure enough, I picked the Bucks to win it all. They won it all. It was crazy how it worked out. So just so everyone knows, don't even tune into the football season because it'll be the Patriots and Packers in the Super Bowl. Patriots knocking off Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Mac Jones is taking us all the way this year.
Oh my gosh, I hated that so much. That was my least favorite part of this podcast. Why did you even? Oh goodness, that's your prediction. Okay,
It's my prediction, and it's going
okay.
to be correct.
okay, fine. I'm gonna be realistic. One of us has to stay realistic. So, I'm just gonna be boring and say the Chiefs and the Buccaneers are playing each other back-to-back years. I think this feels a lot like the Cavs versus Warriors that we had in the NBA there for years, where it's just these two teams are so much better. I don't know if it's that to that extent, but these two teams just feel like they're on a crash course to face off against each other again. And I'm going to say the Chiefs knock off the Buccaneers. Patrick Mahomes gets his revenge. Patrick Mahomes is now the greatest quarterback of all time, Mike. He wins 33-28 over the Buccaneers. So I have the Chiefs Buccaneers, and then you are in La La Land with the Patriots beating the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl.
Joe, I want to say something. When the Patriots win the Super Bowl, I want you to shave your head because it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen.
Okay.
Bill Belichick's got most of his team back. They're going to the playoffs for sure. If they lose in the playoffs, hey, it happened. It's fine. It is what it is. But I just think that Tom Brady as a rookie, took the Patriots to the Super Bowl. I think Mac Jones can do it as well behind Bill Belichick.
Okay.
It's going to happen. Hold on to your seats, everybody.
Okay. Well, the only way I'm going to agree to shave my head if the Patriots win the Super Bowl is if you agree to shave your head if they don't win the Super Bowl. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is.
Okay. I will say I made a bet on the Patriots 1 year at the beginning of the season that they would win the Super Bowl. They lost to the Eagles. I made a $50 bet. They lost to the Eagles that year, but I was willing to bet a lot of money that they were going to win the Super Bowl. Joe, I don't know if I can do that. I might have to ask my wife first because I've never shaved my head and I might look terrible. But I'll talk to my wife. I'll get back to you next week on what her answer is to that.
All right. That's something to look forward to. We have a shaving head bet potentially. But why don't we move on to the division, or sorry, not the division winners. We just did that. The awards. Move on to the awards for 2021. Why don't we start off with a comeback player of the year? Mike, who do you have as your comeback player of the year?
I got Dallas's Dak Prescott winning the comeback player of the year. I really struggled with this one, but I think that Dak had MVP written all over his name last year, not because the team was, excelling by any means, but his stats were bizarre. And it sucked to see him go down with that ankle injury. It was nasty to watch, but I think he's going to come out hot out of the gate, and I think Dak Prescott will be winning the comeback player of the year this year.
Yeah, I'm right with you there. It's a quarterback-driven league. We love to give awards to quarterbacks. Dak Prescott, like you said, was a potential MVP last year. He was on pace for like 6,000 yards before he got injured. I'm a big, big fan of Dak Prescott. And I think if it wasn't for him, maybe potentially Derwin James throws his hat in the ring as winning that comeback player of the year. Maybe Carson Wentz if he has a bounce-back year. But I just think Dak Prescott is so much better than Carson Wentz. I think the Cowboys will be so much better than the Colts. So, yeah, Dak Prescott's my comeback player of the year. And then on to coach of the year. I'm curious. This is kind of a weird – it's kind of hard to predict the coach of the year because sometimes it's like a team that kind of sucks, but they were, like, better than people expected, and their coach wins coach of the year when, like, a guy like Bill Belichick, who should have probably won coach of the year like 15 times, barely ever wins it. But, like, I'm curious who you have as your coach of the year.
Joe, you nailed it dead on. The Chargers really struggled last year, and I think they're going to, like I said, they're making the playoffs. Justin Herbert's making a run. I have the Los Angeles Chargers, Brandon Staley, winning the award this year. And it's a reach, and everyone can laugh at me for saying it, but I have a lot of confidence in the Chargers this year.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. I listen to a lot of podcasts with a lot of football nerds and guys who are like, oh, I'm such a nerd about football. They seem to be enamored by Brandon Staley. They love Brandon Staley. He seems like the next Don Shula. Everybody's totally in love with Brandon Staley. Don Shula, by the way, the greatest coach of all time. I'm just going to put that in there. Only undefeated season in NFL history. No, but I'm going to go for my coach of the year. I'm going to go with Sean McVay of the Los Angeles Rams. I honestly think, I know this is kind of bold, but Sean McVay might be the best coach in the NFL. I'd be willing to put his name up there with Bill Belichick, with Andy Reid. And I know it's early. I know he's young, but what he's been able to do and what he did with Jared Goff, a guy who's, he's fine. He was the first overall pick. Let's not act like he's a bum. He's fine. However, getting Matthew Stafford in there, he's already done so well without Matthew Stafford, and now you have Matthew Stafford, one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL, and I love their offense as a whole. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and then you account for the fact that they have two of the best defensive players in the NFL, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, I like where this team is going, and I just about picked them to make the Super Bowl, but I think Sean McVay is going to win Coach of the Year, and I considered maybe Andy Reid because I think the Chiefs will have a really good year. Obviously, I had them winning the Super Bowl, and then I considered Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns, but he already won it last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just don't want to vote him for a second year. But why don't we move on to the Defensive Rookie of the Year? Mike, who do you have as your Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Like I said early on in the podcast, I've been watching a lot of Hard Knocks this year with the Dallas Cowboys, and I think their rookie Micah Parsons, he will be winning it. I've been seeing him a lot while watching that. I mean, he looks good, and every episode he literally just talks about wanting to get on the field, and when they take him out, he is so frustrated because he just wants to play from the start of the game till the finish. He doesn't want to come out. I think he's going to be one of those low-key players that is just going to absolutely dominate this year. And, with Dak Prescott winning the Comeback Player of the Year, I think it's time for the Cowboys to at least win a few trophies. So, I mean, I'm taking Dak with that and Micah Parsons with Defensive Rookie Player. What do you got?
We just have to stop agreeing on everything because I have Micah Parsons as my Defensive Rookie of the Year. That guy, I watched him in the preseason. That first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, he was flying all over the field, making plays. I think he might be the best player on that defense in his first year. He is just all over the place. And they already had Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith, who were really good just a couple years ago. They're hoping to bounce back. But Micah Parsons is a different animal. His ability to cover, to rush the passer, just as an overall linebacker, he's constantly around the football. I think he's going to make some big-time plays. And it certainly does not hurt that he plays for America's team, the most popular team in the NFL. I think that helps guys like Dak Prescott and guys like Micah Parsons. I did consider, and I maybe should have gone with it just to, switch things up between the two of us, but Patrick Surtain of the Denver Broncos, he, I think, could really ball out this year on that defense. I don't know what you think about Patrick Surtain.
I think it's a good second pick for sure. I can see that for sure. With what you're going. Sorry, I completely blanked there for a second. But yeah, no. With Micah Parsons, he seems like you said, a different kind of animal. I think that it won't be all that close. I think that he's going to show the league that he is one of the better rated linebackers out there, because you said he can cover, he can rush, he can do it all, and he's quick. Like he's all over the field from the right side hash, left side hash. He can cover all 53 yards wide, 100 yards deep. He can get all over the field. It's going to be nuts to see, and I'm excited to see what he can do this year. And we'll just have to watch it.
100%. I think Micah Parsons could be, and I've talked about this numerous times on the podcast. There's a difference between being a really good defensive player and a game wrecker. A guy like prime J.J. Watt, a guy who can just take over the game, force turnovers, just take an interception back for a touchdown, have a huge fumble in a big spot. There's a difference between being solid or elite and then game wrecking, and I think Micah Parsons could be game wrecking. But speaking of potential game wreckers, why don't we move on to the offensive rookie of the year? Who do you have as your offensive rookie of the year?
I'm pretty sure everyone knows already who I have.
I think
I
we
bet
do.
you already.
I think we do.
Joe, I'll let you guess, and if you're correct, we'll just roll with it. If you're wrong, I will then announce.
Is it McCorkle Jones? Is that who it is?
That is 100% correct.
Okay.
Mac Jones will be winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. I considered quite a few players, but I just have a feeling that he is going to excel in that offense. Watching him in the preseason, he looks so smooth throwing a football. After seeing Cam Newton throw, he's got a bit of a scratchy delivery, and seeing Mac Jones just throw such a fluid pass, it was like watching number 12 back there again. And I have missed seeing that for a whole entire season. It felt like forever, to be honest. So I'm taking Mac Jones to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. What about you?
Don't put that evil on me comparing Mac Jones to Tom Brady. I'm not ready for that yet, okay? You guys cannot.
It's a better comparison.
You can't.
It's a better comparison than Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, okay? Let's be real.
You can't. I can't get back into that. I can't have another 20 years of torment. I'm not ready for it yet. But speaking of somebody who will dominate for 20 years, I have Trevor Lawrence as my offensive rookie of the year. Not too terribly high on Urban Meyer or the Jaguars in general, but he's a guy who's starting right off the bat. I think he's a more talented quarterback than any of the quarterbacks in this draft class. Obviously, that's why he was the first overall pick. I think his weapons there are kind of underrated. Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones is pretty good. DJ Chark is also a pretty good player. Unfortunately, like you said, Tim Tebow's not there, so I don't know how they'll make it without him.
They lost their whole offense.
Exactly. I know the offensive line could be a huge problem for the Jaguars, but we saw Joe Burrow, even with a terrible offensive line, he was right there with Justin Herbert for Offensive Rookie of the Year last year before that injury. I could see the same thing with Trevor Lawrence. I think he's going to be here to stay for a while, and I think he'll have a good rookie season. And just one guy I wanted to keep an eye on, Jalen Waddle, the receiver. Since just to get away from quarterbacks, I think this will go to a quarterback with as many quarterbacks that went in the first round. Jalen Waddle, though, all I've heard out of camp is that he is going to be a playmaker for the Dolphins, and I don't think they've used him as much as they're going to use him yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Waddle has himself a big year, and at the end of the season, he's the number one receiver for Miami.
Yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. Another name I was wanting to throw in there was Jamar Chase, but I've seen him struggle so far in the preseason. So I don't know if he's going to be all there, but he could prove us all wrong and have an excellent year, like you were saying. Let's get away from the quarterbacks, and I'm hoping he picks it up because I would love to see him succeed. Him and Joe Burrow together, I think, could make some pretty plays, some highlight reels. Yeah. But we'll just have to see how the year plays out.
Yeah, the stock is not high on Jamar Chase. Everybody's just talking about the drops that he has. He seems to have some sort of mental issues with just he's got the yips basically, like they have some pitchers have in baseball. He just cannot seem to catch the ball, and he hasn't played football in a year, so that could be the reason there. But why don't we move on to the defensive player of the year? Who do you have as your defensive MVP?
I actually struggled with two players from the same team.
Okay.
And I ended up going with a pick that I feel like it's not going to happen, but I'm going with Jalen Ramsey. I think he's going to have a lockdown year. I think Jalen Ramsey, he's already proven to us year in and year out he is one of the best, if not the best, defensive back out there. I think he's going to have another year of just shutting everybody down like he did last year. And I was thinking Aaron Donald would also have a breakout year like he has almost every year. When you have all five of your offensive line taking out Aaron Donald to stop him from sacking your quarterback, you know that this man is a monster. Mm-hmm. So he is my secondary pick for that award, but I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey. I think he's going to have a solid year. What about you, Joe?
I like that pick. I do like that pick. I went a different direction, but I do like Jalen Ramsey. I think he's one of the best players in the NFL, and he's just hurt by the fact that the best player in the NFL is also on his team in Aaron Donald. But I like that pick by Jalen Ramsey. I am going to go a little bit, maybe, a little bold. I talked about this a couple episodes ago when I was overreacting to the preseason. I said Chase Young, a guy, I said he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm feeling it. I know he won Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he's only a second-year player, but that defensive line And I talked about being a game wrecker. To me, Chase Young is a bona fide game wrecker. I think he's ready to explode this season, and I could see him having like a 20 sack season and just dominating. That first play that he had against the Patriots in the preseason, where he sacked and strip sacked Cam Newton, I was like, okay, Chase Young's ready to go. He's ready to roll. And to me, I could see him very easily winning Defensive Player of the Year this upcoming season.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I wouldn't even say it's a bold statement. I think Chase Young is going to have a solid year. The football team showed in the playoffs last year they were a team that no one expected to see there, and they put up a fight against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Chase Young, I know he said some things before the game, and then after, of course, he came up to Tom Brady and said it was all talk. But Chase Young is going to be a star in this league for the next coming years, and I'm excited to see him play. I think that's actually a really solid pick.
100%. I'm excited for the career of Chase Young. I also considered Aaron Donald. I mean, you can basically put his name there almost every year. And then Myles Garrett is another name that I almost put on there. He's a guy, too, I think could just be that game-wrecking player, that guy that just takes over the league, especially with a solid player in Jadeveon Clowney on the other side of him. But why don't we move on to the Offensive Player of the Year? And this has basically become, what offensive player that's not a quarterback can we give this to? Unless you have this being a quarterback, who do you have as your Offensive Player of the Year in 2021?
Well, the way it works is the MVP goes to the quarterback, the Offensive Player of the Year goes to anyone else. And I have Devontae Adams with the Packers winning Offensive Player of the Year. I feel like adding Randall Cobb will throw in, it'll be really hard to stop that offense, and it's going to really, I feel, somewhat free up Devontae Adams to just do his thing. And he was already fun to watch last year. I actually have him on my fantasy team this year, so I'm really hoping he goes off. And I got Devontae Adams. I think he's going to have another monster year, and Aaron Rodgers is just not going to stop throwing the ball to him. Who do you got?
All right, I like that, Devontae Adams. He's, according to a lot of people, the best receiver in football. I would certainly have him up there and definitely in the top 3. I'd have to do a little bit more research as far as top 1. But, Devontae Adams is a beast. I considered a few people here. Christian McCaffrey coming back off that injury. I considered him, but I don't know. I couldn't pull the trigger on that. A sneaky name that I almost picked was Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons. Ooh. I feel like he was already really good last year, and now Julio's gone there in Atlanta. I think he could have himself a monster year, but I finally decided on Alvin Kamara, the running back for the New Orleans Saints. I just think he's going to be such a big part of their offense, even bigger than usual, and I think there's a good chance he has 1,000 and 1,000. 1,000 rushing yards, 1,000 receiving yards, like we saw with Christian McCaffrey when he won Offensive Player of the Year. They just don't have anything at receiver. Like Michael Thomas is out for half the year. They have like Marquez Callaway, and I'm blanking on any other names there for the Saints.
I'm surprised you even got one, because I couldn't even think of their number 1 receiver outside of Michael Thomas.
I know they have a guy named Lil Jordan Humphrey. I know that's a name there, and I think Deontay Harris might be another receiver there. And I watch a lot of footballs, and it's pretty bad if I can't come up with receivers. But Alvin Kamara, such a big part of that offense. I think he's going to be even bigger this year. 1,000 potential. He's my pick for the Offensive Player of the Year, just because I think they're going to have to use him because they have essentially nothing else there at the receiver's position, especially.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I actually just pulled up the depth chart here. We got Michael Thomas was number 1. Of course, he's out. Then we got, you said Marquez Callaway. We got Traquan Smith and Ty Montgomery. Yeah, Traquan Smith.
Ty Montgomery. And
I would not have been able to.
Ty Montgomery is that guy who. Ty Montgomery he used to play for the Packers, and he was a wide receiver that got converted to a running back. So he's barely even a wide receiver. That's hilarious.
I'm surprised he's still in the league.
No
honestly.
kidding.
I forgot where he went.
I genuinely had no idea he was on the New Orleans Saints. But there you go. That's even better for my point. But why don't we move on to the big bad award, the big one, the MVP. You're probably just going to have Mac Jones in here with the way that this has been going. But who do you have?
You got it. Dead on.
Who do you have as your most valuable player? Please don't be McCorkle Jones.
It is not Mac Jones, to everyone's surprise. I really thought of it, but I was like, there's just no way that he's going to outdo Russell Wilson this year. Russell Wilson dominates every single year. My buddy, who's a diehard Seahawks fan, laughed at me when I said this because he said there's no way he's winning. He never does. But when I think of most valuable player, I think of Russell Wilson. I think of a player who not only performs well in his own position, but just lifts everybody up. And if you've seen the Seattle Seahawks teams over the years, like they've had some stacked teams, they've had some stacked defenses, but honestly, his receiving core has never been the greatest. His running back core outside of Marshawn Lynch has been kind of sketch. And they've always made the playoffs. They've always made a run in the playoffs. They've always played very well. And so I think Russell Wilson defines most valuable player. He just brings everyone around him and lifts them up to play better than they actually could without him. Who do you got?
I agree with that a lot. I know Russell Wilson, if we're speaking just the letter of the law, like what does most valuable mean? I think there's no doubt over the past really decade, Russell Wilson has been the most valuable player on his team. Like he has 100% carried his team at points. But to me, I didn't go crazy. It went kind of boring. I just picked Patrick Mahomes as my MVP. I think the Chiefs are just going to dominate this year. I think they're going to be really, really good. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest, and obviously not the greatest quarterback of all time yet. Well, I'm not going to give him that because Tom Brady still, he's got a long way to go before he gets there. But I'm going to say he's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. I've never seen a quarterback throw the way that he has. So I considered guys like I even considered Tom Brady for MVP. I wouldn't be surprised if he's finishes top 3 in voting. I considered Matthew Stafford potentially as a dark horse, but I just got to go.
That's a good pick. That's
old, reliable Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs are going to be really good, but those are our 2021 awards. And then to wrap up the show, as this is going to be, it's going to be a long one, and I'm sorry, Producer Joe, for that one. But why don't we just get into Week 1? Week 1 is here. Week 1 is happening. I'm excited. Why don't we get into the picks that we have for Week 1 real quick? If you're ready.
I am ready. How do you want to break this down? Do you want me to list all my winning picks, or do you want to go Week 1? Okay. And then we'll go back and forth.
I'll go. I'll just start us off. I'll say, okay, the first game, Thursday night, the opener. We got the defending Super Bowl champs against America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Who do you have in the Dallas at Tampa Bay Thursday night opener?
I don't think it's really hard to decide between this one. I think with the team the Bucs have, I think it's going to be a good fight. I think the Cowboys could obviously surprise us, but I'm going to go with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Very good. I'm going to stick with Tampa, too. Don't need to get into it too much. I like Dallas. They don't have Zach Martin because of COVID protocols there on the offensive line, but I'm going to say Tampa Bay wins that. And some of these other matchups, we don't need to get too deep into, like Philadelphia versus Atlanta. I'm taking Atlanta. Where are you going with that matchup?
I'm also going with Atlanta. I haven't seen much out of the Eagles. I didn't see it much last year, and I don't see them doing a whole lot this year either.
Yeah. I have a 2-4 of whatever beer our choice with one of my good buddies, Joel, that the Eagles will win. I think the over-under is 5.5. I have them winning 5 games or less, and he has them winning more than that. So I don't think the Eagles will be very good this year. So I'm definitely picking Atlanta. But the New York Jets versus the Carolina Panthers, the Sam Darnold revenge game. Who do you have in that game?
I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers. I think that with Robbie Anderson, Sam Darnold, and Christian McCaffrey, I think that offense can do some damage. And like I said, I just don't see much out of the Jets this year.
I also went Carolina. I struggle with this one a little bit more than I thought. I don't think the Jets will be good by any means, but Week 1 is weird. And Zach Wilson showed some things in the preseason, but I think I like the weapons that they have there. And the secondary for the Jets is just awful, and I think they're going to have a tough time containing Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. But why don't we move on to the Los Angeles Chargers versus the Washington football team? Who do you got in that matchup?
I think this is going to be a real fun game to watch. Of course, I'm going to take the Chargers over the football team, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I think this is going to come down to the last minute in the fourth quarter. What about you?
I'm going to take Washington. I think this is a tough.
Oh.
People have talked about how the Chargers improved their offensive line in the offseason. There's no better way to test your improved offensive line than against the best defensive line in football right off the bat.
Couldn't agree more on that.
So I think they're going to give Justin Herbert a handful. Washington's going to pull out maybe an upset. I think this would be an upset, but Washington's going to beat the Chargers according to me. But then we have San Francisco versus Detroit. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this one. I'm picking San Fran. Where are you? Actually, you're not as high on San Francisco as me. Who do you have winning this game?
I also have San Francisco winning this game.
Okay.
I don't see, like I said, Motor City Dan. I just don't see they're gonna do not. I don't think they're gonna do as much as some people might think they will. So I got San Francisco.
Okay. Moving on to Pittsburgh versus Buffalo. Give me Buffalo. I just think I'm done picking against the Bills until they start to lose. I tried to do it last year. I picked against them over and over. Just bit me in the butt every single week. So give me the Bills in week 1. Who do you got?
I got the Buffalo Bills versus an aging Ben Roethlisberger.
Perfect. Seattle versus Indianapolis. I don't know why I stuttered on that. I'm taking Seattle. A lot of weirdness in Indianapolis, as I talked about. Who you got in that matchup?
I also have Seattle. Like I've said, I have a lot of high praise for Russell Wilson, and I think the Seahawks are going to do something this year.
All right, then we have Minnesota versus Cincinnati. I don't expect a lot from Cincinnati this year. I'm going to take Minnesota in week 1. How about you?
I'm also going with Kirk Cousins. You know, if he dies, he dies. Just like he said last year.
If he dies,
we're going with the
he
Vikings.
dies. I love it. And then Jacksonville at Houston. Golly, we don't need to spend too much time on this one. I'm going to take Jacksonville just because, I mean, they're playing basically a high school team.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's time to kick the worst NFL team out of the NFL. Like whoever the worst team is at the end of the year, they need to get kicked out, and the Texans are definitely going to be that team. So I'm going with Jacksonville.
We'll just have a CFL team take their place, and then they have to earn their way back in. That's what we'll have to do.
The Montreal Alouettes.
The Montreal Alouettes. All right, let's move on to the final 1 o'clock game, or I guess for you, 12 o'clock. That's really weird that you have games at 12 o'clock.
It's quite interesting.
That is weird. Arizona at Tennessee. I'm taking Tennessee. I was not as high on the Cardinals as you were. I think the Titans will start off hot with that offense. How about you?
I'm gonna go with Arizona.
Okay.
I'm not super high on them, but I think that they're gonna come off strong week 1, and they might fizzle later on in the season. But yeah, we're going Arizona.
All right. And then on to the 4 o'clock games, and we have my favorite game here, the Miami Dolphins versus the New England Patriots. I think we both know where both of us are going to be going here. I'm going to take the Dolphins. I don't know. The Dolphins did have some COVID scares this week. Their starting left tackle potentially could miss the game, as well as Adam Shaheen, their tight end. I don't know. I feel confident in the Dolphins offense. I think the loss of Stephon Gilmore could be bigger than some people are making it out to be in New England. So I'm going to take the Dolphins in week 1. And why are you taking the Patriots?
I mean, like you said, Stephon's out, but we got J.C. Jackson. I believe he led in interceptions last year, so we don't need Stephon Gilmore. We got our number 1 guy on the defensive end.
He didn't.
Mac Jones is going to come in hot. He's going to put that defense down quick. And the Patriots are winning this game, Joe. You're wrong on so many levels.
You were right that there was a player in this game that led the league in interceptions, but it wasn't J.C. Jackson. It was a little guy named Xavier Howard. He had 10 interceptions last year. The disrespect.
That's right. You're right.
The disrespect from this Patriots fan is unreal.
It was close. I
close.
wasn't like 5 interceptions to 10. It was like I believe JC had 8 or 9.
Yeah, he did have a lot, but I mean, Xavier Howard's much better. Anyways, Denver versus New York, the New York Giants versus the Denver Broncos. I'm going to take Denver just because I like their roster as a whole. I'm not high on Danny Dimes and the Giants.
Like, if there was one game that I actually struggle with picking, it would be this one because the teams are almost identical. Like, you just don't know who you can trust. And I think I am going to go with the Giants because I think Saquon Barkley's going to come back, and I think he's going to come back strong. I'm not really set on this pick, but I'm going to go with the New York Football Giants.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to Green Bay versus New Orleans. Give me Green Bay, New Orleans. I don't trust famous Jameis. Not going to trust him, especially not against one of the best rosters in football.
You picked my pick, and you said it perfectly. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers as well.
Okay, and then on to Cleveland versus Kansas City, the final 4:25 game. Give me Kansas City. As much as I love Cleveland, and I think they'll have a great year, tough way to start the year with my prediction for the Super Bowl champs. I'm going to take Kansas City in week 1.
As we've seen with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs facing amazing defenses, I think he's going to crumble week 1.
Oh.
I am not overly high on the Kansas City Chiefs this year for some reason. I don't know who's speaking to me, but I have Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, and Jarvis Landry taking week 1 against the Chiefs. I got the Browns.
Okay, I like it. I like going a little bold. As long as it's not the Patriots.
Welcome to the dog pound.
Ho, ho, ho.
Let's go.
And then on to the primetime games to wrap things up here in week 1. I don't know. Maybe you are differ on this one, but I doubt it. The Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football facing off against the Los Angeles Rams in that new LA stadium that's going to be full for the first time. Give me the Rams. Tough place for Andy Dalton to make his first start with the Chicago Bears.
I liked Andy Dalton's confidence on him saying, I'm going to be the starter, but it's just going to lead to him throwing like 40 interceptions in week 1 against this amazing defense. I've got the Rams as well, and I think it won't even be a close game.
Okay. And I would tend to agree with you there. And then on to the final game of week 1, Monday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens going into Vegas to play the Raiders. Give me Baltimore. Like I talked about, I don't think the Raiders will be good at all this year. I think Baltimore's always good. So give me the Ravens in that game. And where are you going with that game on Monday night?
I'm also going to take Lamar on this one. I have not, like I've told you, I've not seen much out of the Raiders that gives me hope that they're going to just dominate the league. And I think Lamar's going to run all over that defense. And I have a feeling the Ravens are gonna put up a lot early, and the Raiders won't have much to come back with. So we're going Baltimore.
All right, there you have it. That is our full week 1, or not just week 1, 2021 preview. This was a heck of a time, a jam-packed show. Mike, I really appreciate you jumping on with me. You can feel it. You can feel it in the air. Football season is back. You can feel the excitement. We're looking forward to having you on the podcast, hopefully every week. Like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, depending on your contract negotiations, you ask for a lot of money, so me and Joe are going to have to get into our piggy banks. But all joking aside, Mike, it's been really good to have you on the podcast.
Hey, I appreciate that. I hope the fans really enjoy the addition. I hope that we can go and do a lot of fun things with this. I'm really excited to see what the future holds. And JT with the contract set up over there, we've been going back and forth for a while, and we'll have to see if we can meet somewhere in the middle. Right now, it's kind of we're hanging on, but we'll see what the future holds. I'm hoping that the contract dispute gets settled, and I hope I can be on for many more episodes. It was a lot of fun. Probably the easiest hour and a half talking football I've ever had in my life. It was just good vibes, like you would say. Thick thighs and good vibes. I had a lot of fun, and I hope I do this. I hope we can do this again next week, and I'm really excited.
Very good. I love it. We might have to just franchise tag you like the Cowboys did with Dak Prescott if we can't get the contract situation figured out. But for JT, as Mike has recently given him that nickname, Joe behind the mic, we've never called him JT before, but that's a cool new nickname that he has. For JT, for Mike, for myself, thank you guys so much for listening to the Average Joe Football Show. Excited for week 1, excited for 2021, but until then, we will catch you guys on the next one.
Boom, that's record. Now it's recording. And you can see hello, hello.
Yeah.
You can see the levels here. Obviously, if it's getting red, you don't like that, but it'll also show it in there. And then you can hit the record button or